2222222. Okay, that is today's theme. It is February 22nd, 2022, and I have two X-T2 cameras. So this is kind of my personal anniversary for X-T2. Let's call it X-T2 International Day. And this camera is the camera that started it all for me. I got into photography, and the one that's filming me now is also an X-T2. And I started with this very first combo right here, the 23 f2 lens with this X-T2. And my goodness, it's been an amazing journey ever since then. Upon which I went on to get this 16 millimeter f1.4, just a really fantastic lens, all around everything. I mean, I use it for macro. You can get like this close to your subject with it. Beautiful lens. You do need, of course, because of the distortion and the wide angle, you need to either crop your images or compose them very thoughtfully. And then I've got this other 23, so kind of a bit redundant, but it was a birthday gift. So the person who got it for me, I guess, didn't know that I already had a 23. But, you know, I'll never get rid of either of these because the 23 f1.4, all on its own, has a special kind of flavor. And I personally find that the differences, even between the same lens, there can be anomalies and peculiarities that are just only to that lens. And so I find, for example, like comparing a 23 1.4 to another 23 1.4, you may get different results. So I always somehow feel like the lenses that I've got are destined to be mine until they're not, right? So, and then I got this beast of a lens. And this is the 50 to 140 f2.8 throughout. Internal focusing zoom. And this lens, I mean, the compression that it adds when you're fully zoomed out is spectacular. And then the lens that's filming me is actually an older lens, much older lens. It's a vintage lens. It's a film lens. And that lens is the 50 millimeter f1.4 full frame lens. And here we have the lovely X-T2. This camera is very similar to a film camera in its looks and also in its use functions. You've got the top dials up there, which make it really convenient if you wish to use those. I tend to stick to the dials on this part of the camera just because it's quicker. Once you really start using the camera, I mean, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to use those. However, they still are pretty to have them, and it's just a fun camera. And now we move on to my first prime lens, my first lens at all, for that matter. The gorgeous 23 f2 lens. As you can see, all the specs are right on the lens as well. This thing, I mean, it's a tiny lens for sure, but the images that it's captured, I've captured some images that have just blown my mind with this thing. And again, it's not because of my skill, it's just the lens is amazing. And now we move on to the f2's bigger brother, the f1.4 23mm. And this lens, obviously having the 1.4 is even better for low light. I really find that this lens, although it's a 23 as well, just generally has a different look than the other 23mm f2. And I really enjoy the clutch function. I know a lot of people don't like it. I personally think it's great. I love that it stops at a certain spot, and really just a fun lens to use as well. And now on to really one of my favorite lenses to use. I mean, it's a really interesting combo. I've got this Kipon Bayev's Nikon to Fuji mount, and it's an adapter, but it's a focal reducer as well. So you see that 0.7 times magnification. It pulls, because it's got the glass in there, it pulls this full frame lens so that the entire glass of the full frame lens fits onto the APS-C sensor. So with that focal reducer on there, it is actually using the entire glass of this full frame lens. So obviously the 1.4, it also it gives you an extra stop of light. So I mean, this really, the bokeh you can pull off on this lens with this combo is fun. And it's all manual. There's no autofocus, anything, but you get good at it pretty quick, and it's really fun to play with, for sure. The focus, you can see like it kind of moves the lens a little bit. And again, you just get used to how it works. I love that it has that aperture stop, just like all of the other Fuji lenses that I have. It makes it just seamless. Then you've got a lens like this wide 16 lens, and again 1.4, a lot of light. I mean, that aperture ring, I love having that on there. I'm always, or almost always, in full manual or nearly full manual. Again, the fun clutch on there, just like the 23 f1.4. Again, another feature that I just absolutely love. And looking at this lens up close, I mean, you just see like okay, it's a little dirty, but that's just the filter. It's actually not the lens itself that's dirty like that. But you can see that it's got like the nano GI coating, and I mean, this is just a superior lens for sure. So there you go, the 16. And then my final beast of a lens. You've got the in-lens image stabilization right there, that switch that you can turn it on and off. You got these little screws which you can take off the mount, and then you got this one which you can turn it so you can, while it's mounted, you can change whether you're shooting portrait or landscape. You've got the aperture ring, of course, again. And the zoom, I mean, look at that. It's all in body. There's no external movement when you use the zoom. The focus ring, I do use it, but the autofocus is so good on this thing that I don't really need to use it that much, but it's certainly in more complicated situations, I do still find myself using it. Again, that nano coating really cuts down on flares, and again, it looks dirty, but that's just the lens filter, so I should clean that, but I generally keep it pretty clean. Yeah, the important parts are clean, but there it is. What a beast. I love using that thing, the compression. And so today what we're going to do is we are going to go out to Yellow Rock Trail at Devil's Den. And we're just going to go and talk a little bit more about my journey with these two cameras and the lenses, and take some shots and just have a good time out in nature. I hope you enjoy. So I thought it would be interesting for me to show something a little bit different than I normally do on this channel. And that is how I actually capture the video and the images for this channel. Now, primarily, I mean, I am a pianist, but I have developed a passion for the art of capturing images and video. And this started around 2014, 2015, when I was overseas in Asia. And I did a lot of research about which camera I would get. and finally ended up deciding on the Fujifilm X-T2. And yeah, ever since then, it's been a romantic love story. And it's interesting that I picked up my first X-T2 in Hong Kong, and that was right about when they had come out. And I was so excited to get my first one. This is that one. And even after later versions, the X-T3, X-T4 had come out, I never upgraded, and in fact, I had even purchased a second X-T2 body just within the last year. So the journey with these cameras, you know, I found a camera body that I just love, and I know it very well in and out, and I've enjoyed accumulating a nice lens lineup. I've got the 16mm f1.4 RWR XF lens on here now. And really, what a joy, what a thrill. Every time you go out with this camera, it's just fun. Shooting this with this camera never seems to get old. And with a lens like this 50-140 XF zoom, I mean, you just can't go wrong. The shots that this lens is capable of capturing is truly amazing.